being on the Bears. Are we sure all the issues are gone? Maybe not. Also, for a bombshell, Caleb's dad, pretty much right across the board.
Yeah,
And finally, a fresh Friday edition of Title Pie. We only have a handful of teams. I hope the pie did not suffer. Alongside Chris Broussard, I'm Kevin Wilds. Do you have any idea on the pie?
I saw it.
The graphic or the actual pie?
Actual pie.
Well, I made the graphic. Well, not the graphic, but I gave the data. The actual pie, though, I saw. My prediction is Brew will like it.
Okay.
You will not. It is not Mississippi mud.
No, I know what it is. I saw it too, and like many of your predictions, wrong.
Oh, you don't like it? Not sweet enough for you. A little
Got a
too
sweet
savory.
to it. Yeah,
Okay.
Starting in Denver, where the Nuggets forced a Game 7. Jokic and Murray had a balanced game. They combined for 44, while Christian Brown at 23, 11, and 5. Brew, will kick us off here. What was your number one takeaway from this game?
Well, in tribute to the great Shaquille O'Neal, the others. That's what this was, the others. Obviously, Jokic and Jamal Murray hit some huge shots. Jamal Murray playing through sickness, went out there and had a good game. But they were, of course, were big. But what I think won them this game, there were two critical stretches. At the end of the second quarter, now OKC is up 12. Looking like, I get it, it was still fairly early.
No, but
looking like
they
they
were
have a
taking
nice,
control.
comfortable lead in the half. And then Christian Brown, we might have video of this, he hits 2 threes and gets them tied, and then they go in the half just down 3.
Yep.
So that was huge. And then in the third quarter, game is tied. And then out of nowhere, Julian Strother, who had 14 points in the first 5 games of the series combined, he goes for 15 last night, but hits 2 threes and then gets like a kind of a lay-in, alley-oop lay-in.
It was a little acrobatic. He caught it with his back to the basket and kind of pivoted in the air.
It was nice. And so those 2 stretches, if you look, game 1 they stole. Westbrook gives them 18 off the bench.
Yeah.
Last night, they get a big contribution from Strother. Their depth is obviously not equal to OKC's, and when they do get a good unforeseen performance by a bench guy or combine the guys produce, that's their formula for winning, because Jokic and Murray are pretty much going to deliver.
And Gordon, too. I mean, Gordon, there's some concern.
That'd be huge if that hammy is a problem.
It looked like the hammy bit him a bit. And because I had a similar feeling on the Denver side of things, which is the question is, can Denver get one guy outside of their big 3 to step up? And they needed Strother last night when he did, because the one end of quarter sequence you didn't mention was the end of the first quarter when Russell Westbrook had about as damaging 3 minutes as you can have where he had 4 possessions in a row and it was 2 misses, 2 turnovers. And I am not trying to pile on. I'm not trying to kill Russ, because over the breadth of this season, he has been more good than bad. And in the first round, round of the playoffs, he had some good moments, as you mentioned, game 1. These last 3 games, and I don't know if it has anything to do with it, if he's in his own head. They do coincide with the Ramona Shelburne article coming out about the interaction with Aaron Gordon that Aaron got upset about, and whatever it is. He has been the worst version that we've seen him in Denver these last 3 games. So they needed Strother in that moment. He gave it to him. My big takeaway, though, might be on the other side, which is OKC might not be ready yet. And Shea has been excellent. And we can show the play at the end of the third quarter. I'm starting to doubt basketball gods, because in the same night Jason Tatum tore his Achilles, the Mavs won the lottery. Yeah. But if the basketball gods have any fight in them left, this type of stuff can't be rewarded. Jamal Murray is like, you've got to be kidding me. But even though
there were a couple of things last night.
But Shea hasn't been the problem. The problem has been Jalen Williams, who this entire postseason, we can show it to you, and then I know you have more on it, but in the postseason as a whole, he's been the worst 3-point shooter in the playoffs. It's down across the board. And
that scoring, that's fine, but it's down from what he did in the regular
And
season.
it's down, and go ahead, KW.
Well, that's even worse, because we had the same thought. But game 3, when he had 32, so that brings everything up.
Yes.
All the other games, he's down around 13.
Yeah, I mean, this
4 for
series in
26.
particular, Brew, look at that outside of game 3. And so he hasn't been good enough. And OKC's calling card, even though they have the scoring champ and the league MVP, we think going to be the league MVP, is defense. They have allowed 121, 113, 119 in their 3 losses. Like, their defense hasn't been good enough in those losses. And so I still think the Thunder should win the championship. They should. They have home court, in this and the rest of the way, obviously. Shea has proven he's been able to keep this level. But, man, they have not, in this series at all, looked like the team that won 68 games.
Well, and that was one of my big questions. Obviously, I talked about their youth for months, but
Yes.
do they have a legit second guy? And if they lose this series and say Jalen doesn't play that well tomorrow, I'm not, or Sunday when they play, right? I'm not necessarily going to say he can't be that guy, and that's what they're going to have to decide. Again, if they lose this series, or even if they lose the next round, right?
Correct.
Is he just a young guy that's growing and will become that second guy to Shea? Or he's not that good? He's really a third guy or maybe even less than that. And James Harden, who we talked a lot about his playoff history, remember his first finals when they played LeBron in the Heat and Harden was bad. He had been a great 6-man all year, was bad in the finals. I wrote that. I said, man, dude is young. He'll be fine. Like, I'm not even worried about that at all. But that was who he was. And so they're going to have to decide, is this who Jalen is, or is he just a young guy, taking his lumps?
And can I add one other thing before we move on to the Game 7? Or we move on to different pieces of it. Because what we know about the Game 7 that's coming up is Joker is going to be ready, and Joker is used to it. So we can, in these, as far as career Game 7s, it's really weird. It's just because look at this. Almost half of his career series have gone the distance. Like, think LeBron's played in 8 Game 7s in 55 series. Joker, this will be his 7th in 16 series, and so that's because, remember, they had
to the level of their team. I mean, they're a good team. They're not a historically great team.
Right. They don't make quick work of almost anybody except for the Lakers, oddly. And so he will be ready. Jamal will be ready.
And they're going to be rested for relatively
as rested
speaking.
as you can be in this situation, because they don't play obviously today or tomorrow. They play
remember,
Sunday
they've been
afternoon.
every other day for the last 2 weeks.
Yep. So this will feel like a real amount
it's
of
going
rest.
to be great.
Yes.
All right, Game 7 Sunday afternoon, around 3-ish. Is it 3:30?
3:30.
An expected battle between the MVP and the runner-up. Nick, you've talked about this precedent where David Robinson was given his MVP trophy in 1995 in front of Hakeem Olajuwon, who then had 41 and 16 in the same game. So, do you think the league should hand out the MVP before the game? This would assuming that it's SGA's.
Well, whoever it is, they should hand it out. I doubt they would hand it out on their own. But it's one of these two guys. It's probably Shea, and the answer is, of course, they should. It's an entertainment business, right?
Yeah.
It's about mental toughness. It's about, you know what I mean? I don't think you can argue like that would be unfair. It would be an added wrinkle, but nobody would have. I expected, Brew, them to give it out during this round.
Well, Iron Eagle reported it would happen before Game 5, where he said he was hearing rumblings. It obviously didn't happen.
So just based on recent precedent, they don't. Back in the 90s and really early 2000s, they were fine waiting until the conference finals to give it out because the MVP's team was always still playing.
Right.
And so because they like to be able to have it, the guy's still playing. And then obviously the year Dirk was the 1 seed, they didn't, and they lost in the round 1. Then they had to give it to him in a hallway. That was weird. Like they've adjusted it a bit. But I thought this was perfect, and I thought it would be before Game 2 in OKC or before Game 5. They haven't done it, which leads me to believe they are planning to do it in the conference finals. But come on,
I don't know. They might do it Sunday.
That would be so great. And it would give us an opportunity for a 30-year later potential recreation of that moment.
Robinson,
the guy who's the champion, who has won an MVP, and, you know, I don't know if you can say feel he got snubbed, but
he did feel he got snubbed. Yeah.
Akeem, Olajuwon. I'm saying I don't know if Joker feels he got snubbed or not, but whatever. Watching the other guy win the award, and then 10 minutes later they go play a game. That was before Game 2, not before Game 7, but it would be awesome. So I hope they do it.
We talked about it on the morning call, and at that point I was like, no, I don't think they should, because I did feel like, does it give SGA kind of a little boost going into this game and take a little something from Joker? But the more I thought about it, the more I'm with you. Like,
oh, yes.
Number one, the drama you can't beat, right? Everybody's talking about these two guys. And whether Joker feels snubbed or not, a lot of basketball people and fans feel like he's going to get snubbed.
And his teammates might get fired up.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, it can give a mental boost to either one of them. Like SGA, like, okay, I got my MVP. I have to go out and prove that I am the MVP, because I know a lot of people think it should be Joker. Joker could be like, I'm going to go out and show it should have been me. So it does feel perfect. And if you look at the alternative, if it's going to be SGA, I'll be shocked if it's not SGA.
It's minus 10,000. I know you're not a gambler, Brew, but that would mean you have to bet. To win $100, you'd have to risk $10,000 on SGA.
Yeah, that's just so
Vegas thinks it is.
If it's him, if they lose, and then Monday, you put a damper on the award in general, but also even for him. Yeah, he'll feel good. I'm the MVP, but we lost. We're not going to the conference finals. So it is best for them to do it Sunday.
If you were the decision makers, I don't think it's Sam Presti's call, but suppose